And yeah, today we're talking about press releases and press kits and working with the press in general and so on. And I know some of you guys have done a lot of this, and some of you have done not a lot of this, and that's totally fine. I would love to hear in the chat if you want to just enter a number or if you want to go into more detail. Um, which of these best describes you right now? One is I already do press releases regularly. I know what I'm doing. I just want to get better. I want to do this in a more refined way. I want to improve my pickup rates and refine my media kit or, whatever it is. Number two is I'm just getting started and I'm kind of new to this whole idea of working with the press. And number three would be something else. So, and if you say something else, I would love to know what that is. What is it that you're hoping to get out of today's workshop? And, so that's basically where we're starting from and where we're going. The nice thing about today's workshop is that there's not a ton of material to cover. So we're going to be doing some field trips and doing some brainstorming of press release ideas and titles, and also doing some brainstorming of pitches. And if you guys are up for it, we can also use ChatGPT to generate some ideas and also generate some pitches for us that are customized to a particular reporter. Yeah, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and where you're coming from and everything else. It looks like we've got Stella, of course, knows a lot about this, and Ben, of course, knows a lot about this. Anybody else, if you want to chime in, please feel free. And let's just take a minute and go around the room since we've got a little bit of time and not a ton of people. I'm Paula Williams. Help aviation companies sell more of their products and services. And we do a free workshop once a month to talk about a topic that our clients and other people in the community can hopefully benefit from. Ben, I think you were next on the line today.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can. You sound great.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying some new software and it didn't work. So I had to uninstall. So now
Oh,
I just want to
no.
make sure everything's working. Um, so I'm Ben Nivert. I'm the chief of staff for DVT Aero. Um, I brought some friends, see, over this
Yeah,
way, actually.
there's
And
that way. Yeah. Bullwinkle and Rocky. Cool.
yeah, what can you do for a press conference without Bullwinkle and Orky? Watch
There
me
you
pull a rabbit out of my hat.
go. Watch me.
Um,
That trick never worked.
so, yeah, that trick never worked. I spent a lot of time when I was running a business unit for Ernst& Young. I had all the press negotiations and the interviews. So I
Okay.
did a fair number of them. But
Oh,
it's been a while since I've done them. I did some when I was working for the city and county on public safety. So we
okay.
made the main news station here with a presentation. And I worked with the anchor on getting it right. I was very impressed.
Nice.
The woman called me 6 times in the hour and a half before it aired to be sure every fact was right, and I sent her additional material so she could air it, and came up really well.
Wow. You got one of the true professionals in the field.
Well, Denver's small, and you're talking to all the mayors and city managers, chiefs of police, chiefs of fire. I think she thought if she gets it wrong, she'd never get another interview.
That always helps. Yeah, that's true. Calling from the governor's office,
Well, no, this was the mayor at the time.
the mayor's office. Okay, that's
So we
great.
were doing a public safety training facility for the whole region. And so it
Hmm.
involved virtually everybody in public safety, plus all the city managers and mayors.
Perfect.
Um, so not a crowd she wanted to get wrong,
Understood.
but she did a great job. I give her a lot of credit. And so,
That's
yeah, I just kept making sure she had everything she needed. I knew she was on deadline, so I sat by the phone and made sure I answered. But yeah, so, but it's been a while, so I'm really looking forward to learning and refreshing and engaging.
perfect. Great. Well, happy to have you as always. There is someone named Parno, I think, who is on the line next. You're welcome to introduce yourself if you'd like. If not, that's totally fine.
Hi, Paula. This is Patty Arnott. And you know what? I have no idea how I can change my name.
Oh, how funny.
Every time I'm on on a Zoom call, it comes up as that. So
All
some,
right.
Someday I will learn how to fix that. But anyway, again, my name is Patty Arnott. I am with Wyvern. We are a third-party auditing company. We do risk assessments on operators, charter brokers, FBOs, MROs. I am in the administrative department, but I also dabble in the marketing and sales as well.
Perfect. And would you describe yourself as a 1, 2, or a 3? You're just getting started. You have already done this many, many times, or what's your situation with working with the press?
Sorry, I forgot to answer that part.
Oh,
So
that's okay. No.
I fall into category number one.
Okay.
Do press releases regularly, but we don't have much one-on-one with the different aviation press release companies. We mostly contact them via email.
Okay. Got it. That is good to know, and thank you for that.
Mhm.
Stella, I know you are a number one, but tell us a little bit about your situation as well.
Well, I'm a number one because I do the writing, not because I put them out for myself.
There you go. That's okay. We'll learn both sides of that today. And actually, we're not going to talk much about writing, but mostly about getting them placed and everything else. But yeah, you do have to have great writing to start with and great headlines in particular to get this to work, right?
It does help, yes. If you can give the press or the media all the details they need, that is a clear, concise format, they love it.
Right.
Oh, versus some rambling, unknown, I don't know what you're talking about kind of release.
Absolutely. Right. And Angel, can I put you on the spot? You're brand new to this. This is your very first workshop, right?
Yes, this is my first workshop.
Good to see you. Glad you're here. Right. Have you done
Yeah.
anything in school or anywhere else with press releases, or is this your first experience?
This is my first experience.
Okay, great. That is fantastic. And we do want to cover that for, anybody who is either here or not here, watching the recording later and things like that. So, but for the most part, it sounds like the people who are in the room win. So we'll spend most of the time kind of assuming that you've done this before and, kind of diving into the details of how to make it better. Okay, so this is derived from our online workshop. And in that online workshop, we spend usually about 2 weeks going through this with someone, with different homework assignments and so on. So this is the 1 hour version of the 2 week workshop. So you get the very condensed version today. But what we do in the long workshop is we find and we build relationships with journalists, reporters, and podcasters who are the most influential with your buyers. We work on getting your news mentioned by the publications that are the most important to you, get featured on blogs or interviewed more often by the media, build credibility for yourself, your company, your products and your services. And those actually are kind of different things, depending on what your objective is. And the last thing that we do in that workshop is to build a press kit. We're going to touch on that today in terms of what can go in that press kit and what some of those materials are and why it's important to include them and things like that. So what we want to come out of this with is an idea, and we're not going to have built relationships in an hour with 10 different reporters, but hopefully if you follow through with all of the action items from this from today, you'll have a network of 10 or so reporters that are important to your specific part of the industry, and you'll know how to position yourself as a credible news source and create newsworthy newsworthy releases that are easy for them to use. So sound like it's worth the time for everyone here? Okay. All right. Carrying on. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is that if you just, and this is kind of a difference from the past, right? It used to be that you could write a press release, put it on a wire service, or shoot it out in a broadcast email to a bunch of reporters and get it picked up because aviation was a smaller world at that time. The media was a smaller world at that time. There were specific companies that were on the beats of specific reporters. There were more reporters, and those reporters had one job, and that is to create news or to write news or to write about the particular subject area that they wrote about. That has changed a lot, I would say, in the last 5 years. And Stella, you probably have a different and better view of some of that than I do. But I think a lot of publications, the journalists now wear more than one hat. They may or may not have beats that they cover. They have less expertise on a particular area of aviation in particular. There used to be like a guy that would cover bonanzas, and now there's a guy that covers all Textron products. So the beats have gotten bigger. The reporters are fewer and farther between. They're often freelancers, stringers, other things like that. They're not employed by the publications anymore.
Right.
Okay.
And a lot of them rely on social media
Mhm.
for communication, for the news and whatnot. So they find your post or your news, on social media and then report based upon what's there as well. So,
Mhm.
not just putting out a press release, but also including that information on your social sites is
Yeah,
another way to engage the media and get your news, whatever it might be, out there.
right. That's absolutely correct. And I think the mechanized method of doing press releases, it used to be pretty mechanized. You'd write the press release, you'd put it on the wire service, you'd send out a broadcast email, you would be done. Uh, but I think the piece that is missing nowadays, or the piece that really makes it worthwhile or make it work nowadays, is to build those relationships before you have a need of a reporter. So if you have 10 reporters that are interested in your topic, that is better than sending a press release to 500 reporters that may or may not be interested. And that's partly because of the nature of the aviation industry, and that's partly because of the nature of the media now as opposed to 5 years ago, the part of the industry you're in. Okay,
Well,
so
and if
yeah.
you're going for a printed
Hmm.
press release,
Hmm.
a lot of that is automated now. There's not even a person who touches it.
Hmm.
You submit it to XYZ publication and they just hit print and add it to their
Hmm.
print page, so to speak, online. If they're
Yeah,
actually going to print it like in a newspaper or something, then it probably gets edited down to fit their space. But in
exactly.
this age of digital everything, if you're going for a printed digital publication,
Hmm.
i.e., I don't know, the New York Times digital version,
Hmm.
you know, there may not even be a person involved in that. They're just going to say, received, plug it
Yeah.
in, done. Versus, if you're going for the New York Times printed version that's, paper and everything, then someone's probably going to look at it and say, too long, we need to cut it down, edit it, whatnot. So a lot of it depends also on what media format you're looking at.
Exactly. So there are usually two things that we do when we submit a press release, and it's kind of a double-tracked system for the aviation industry. One is the mechanized version where we send it to the wire services and it shows up on all those publications automatically. And that is nice because you get, depending on what you pay for, anywhere from 200 to 600 mentions of your news in some of these highly mechanized media. Of course, that doesn't give you a lot of actual customers or actual people who are in the industry or anything else. So the second track that we do is the higher quality track, and that is basically we send press releases to our network of reporters who are interested in this particular area of the industry, and we want them to know this. And these are people that we've built relationships with over time, and they are looking for news. We know that we already have a relationship with them. They know that what we send them is likely to be credible It's not out of the blue or anything else. So in order to build that Rolodex, does anybody use the word Rolodex anymore? To build that list of reporters, and even if it's only 10 reporters, that's totally fine, as long as they are people that are really in your niche and that really know, like, and trust you. So what we want to do is think about what publications do your customers read? What podcasts do they listen to? What blogs and forums do they frequent? So, also what YouTube channels do they watch? Are they subscribed to? And you can do this by asking people. You can do this by looking at, especially if you're one of your own target market, you can look at that and other things like that. So, some things that you can do using Google or a ChatGPT search, podcasts for beginning flight students in the United States, and you'll come up with a bunch of them. Some of them are for career-minded students. Some of them are for recreational students. You'll have kind of a wide variety of different things depending on what you're doing. Magazines for VIP travel coordinators in Europe. I'm sure, Stella, you've probably done that one specifically. Publications for aircraft engine repair in the Northwest United States. You want to be as specific as you can when you're doing these searches, because you want the reporters that are absolutely interested in what you have to say. This is quality, not quantity. And then as you collect your list of publications, you want to visit their About Us page. Most of them will have what we call a media kit or an advertiser kit that says, these are the kinds of people that subscribe to our magazine. So, Ben, in your situation, you would want to look maybe for some, well, actually, you've got several products in which we would think about the different demographics of who would be interested in this. And there's the regional air mobility publications. There are experimental magazines. There's the Scientific American. There's, a bunch of other things that you've already been mentioned in that we want to know who that staff of reporters are. And unfortunately, this is a labor-intensive exercise. There's no quick and easy way to do it except for LinkedIn. And I'm going to use a couple of examples of people who we know, like, and trust, people who are reporters that don't mind me talking about them. Chad Troutbetter from Aviation, AIN Media Group. But let's say that we were looking for regional air mobility publications. I bet there are probably some, or publications, we'll say, because we also want to know podcasts and other things. Aerospace Snowdums. This is a podcast by Aero Society. That might be a good one to think about. And tell me if I'm completely off base here, if you think this may be relevant to you, Ben. Patty, if we were looking for you, we would probably be looking for aviation safety publications, or I'm sure there's a ton of those, and we'd be looking for, companies, podcasts, other things. So safety research, Civil Aviation Safety Authority, a lot of these things. Some of these may have, and we can do I usually start with LinkedIn, and then I'll go to ChatGPT and go deeper. So if I don't get what I want from ChatGPT or from LinkedIn, then I'll go to ChatGPT and say, maybe make a list. Please make a list of aviation safety publications. Include podcasts, blogs, and magazines. And we'll see what it comes up with. You may already know about all of these. You probably do. This is your area, but there may be some that you may not know about. Looks like it's mostly doing magazines. So these might be people that would be good sources to cultivate in the industry and things like that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, they do make sense. We do have a relationship. I saw Flight Safety Foundation came up on a few of the ones up above.
Right.
We normally send ours to AIN.
Of course.
Yes, and Chad's one of our connections there, and Matt Thurber, and I think we have a couple other connections. We also send ours to BAN, Business Aviation Network, I think is the N. And
Yeah.
I think there's two others that we usually email them to. BAN almost always publishes ours, as long as you're not trying to sell something in your press release, that it's informational.
Yeah.
Never had a problem with BAN publishing anything. AIN is a different story. And like you were saying about the media packages, a lot of times you have to pay for media spots. At least that's our experience.
Right. That is true. They intentionally or otherwise, of course, they're paying attention to the people that advertise in their magazines or that purchase advertising. But if it is something that, as an example, and, I like to use Chad as my stalking horse here or whatever, if it's something that he's written about at some point in the past, or if you can spin off of an article that he's written, then that's a way to make sure that you get his attention on something and, say, hey, this is something that's similar to what you've written about in the past, but here's another angle that you might want to consider for future article. So some of those harder ones to get into, in some cases, you have to find a tangent to get mentioned. And so as an example, I'm going to show you how I do this. This is, I can save Chad's profile as a PDF and download it to my computer. I can upload that into ChatGPT and say, please write a pitch
That's cool.
for Chad better. Profile attached. And do you have an idea for, I don't know if there's one that comes to mind that we want to use for this exercise of, about a story about aviation safety. I don't know if you want to customize that anymore or.
That's good. So one of the things we're doing at NBAA base this year, well, we've done it for a couple of years, is we're giving away. We've partnered with APS, Aviation Performance Solutions, and we're giving away a free seat at their pilot training.
Oh, is that the upset recovery training?
Exactly. You got it.
Gosh, that's so fun. I want to do that.
Oh, well, if you're a pilot, you can fill out the form and you might be a winner.
I'm just a private pilot. Would I qualify?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh
Let
my
me give
gosh.
you
I'm so entering that. That would be so much fun.
let me give you the link. I'll put it in the chat so anybody here on this chat can fill out and register for that. It's totally free. I asked Carrie at APS what the value is. I don't know what the value is, but I'm assuming it's at least a $6,000 value.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds about right. I know my husband was looking into that, just for fun, and it was just like, that's a little more than fun money, but it is certainly looks like a fun course. Okay, so please write a pitch for Chad Troutbetter, profile attached, about an APS upset recovery training giveaway. And this is kind of a moot point because we're so close to NBAA that I'm pretty sure that most of those publications are already full, but you could certainly do this in the future. So I don't know if this would actually work in this case, just because we're so close to NBAA, but we'll see how the process works in this process. So basically, it's going to read his profile and it's going to say, and of course, you're going to want to customize this. It is not terrible, and it's probably better than a lot of the pitches that they get, even just coming straight out of ChatGPT. We always, always, always do what we call the sandwich with ChatGPT, and that is to be very specific going in and also be very tailored coming out, and probably rewrite this whole thing, but at least this gives us a starting point that saves us a lot of time going forward. And, I might even say, can you mention of safety innovations in AIN that I could add to this pitch?
That's really cool. I didn't know you could use AI in that manner.
Right. Yeah. So then, you can go into more detail, ask it to add other things. You could ask it for, please provide statistics of how effective upset recovery training is in reducing incidents. See, I'll go back and forth like 10 times, when I'm writing a pitch, because, they want to have fantastic statistics and things like that. I mean, if you're a reporter, this is the kind of thing that you live for. You want a good headline in order to make this a great pitch or a great story that Chad's audience would love to hear. Does that cool? So then, please revise pitch with this new information.
One thing I would say, Paula, is that rather than ask ChatGPT to come up with the statistics, because it is well known to make them up when it fits itself, go
Yeah.
into Perplexity
Yeah,
and ask Perplexity, give me a list of statistics for this
of
or
course.
aviation safety or whatever, because it will include
Mhm.
sources. And then
Yeah.
you can copy and paste that into ChatGPT saying, using these sources, add
Mhm.
this into your, add this into the above pitch or, into your letter to chat or whatever.
Yeah.
More reliable.
Right. I actually do it backwards. I have ChatGPT do it first, and then I fact check in Perplexity.
Okay. I can do
I
that
think
too. I just think Perplexity is going to be more accurate right off the bat than
out the
ChatGPT.
box. Okay, there you go. And see, Stella's a professional writer. I'm a professional marketer, so two different perspectives on that. And but either way, you want to make sure that you fact check anything that comes from an AI source before sending this to Chad and ruining your credibility and messing up your whole day. So, but yeah, absolutely. This is a huge time saver if we can make sure that this is something that he's going to be interested in because it's targeted to his profile. It knows what publications he writes for. It knows some information about the topic that we're talking about. It has some statistics, and it has some things that AIN has written about in the past regarding um, upset recovery training. So we know this is a topic that he will love. But again, time being of the essence, I don't know that this would fly because of it being so close to NBAA, but it might be worth a shot. But the important thing is that you see the process, right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We really enjoy doing these kinds of things. But what would be even cooler is if you had spent the last 6 months building a relationship with Chad, commenting on his posts on LinkedIn, talking about the fact that he lives in Florida and he's in the hurricane alley and things like that. I think he's posting about that recently. So, if I were stalking a reporter and I wanted to build a relationship with them, one of the things that I know is that they often, especially if they are freelancer stringers, and Stella, tell me if I'm up in the night here, they get paid more if they have a larger audience and if they get more engagement on their articles.
Depends on the publication, but yeah.
Okay. So, and Chad, of course, is an editor, so he's not in that category. He's not a stringer. He's not a freelance guy or anything else. But if I read his stuff and comment on it on a regular basis, then he knows I'm in the industry. He knows that I know what I'm talking about. I've built some credibility and expertise with him over the past 3 to 6 months. So then when I sent him this press release about upset recovery training, he's going to say, oh, it's from Paula, number one. I'm going to open the email, hopefully. That's the first thing they look at is who is this from? Is this somebody who knows something about the industry and that's going to be worth my time to read? Second thing is the headline. So the subject line of that email, pitching Chad, and that's another thing that we can use ChatGPT for is please write engaging subject lines, this pitch to Chad. And it should give us a few, some of which are going to be awful and some of which might be pretty good.
Well, and another thing that would be important to chat is a lot of times they get paid based upon their original ideas.
Mhm.
So that might cause him to get an additional bump in income because he brings this original idea or this original content to his editor, his publisher, whatever.
Right, exactly. So I don't know if any of those strike you as particularly good or bad, Patty.
They all kind of look pretty good to me. I
Yeah.
kind of like Boost Pilot Confidence. That one's kind of neat. Exclusive UPRT training. But they all sound pretty good.
Yeah, reasonably decent. So
Yeah.
uh, the first thing he looks for is, who is this from? Is this somebody I have a relationship with? Second thing is this a topic that my readers care about? And we know that that's true.
Hmm.
And, this really kind of puts it up front and center in the subject line. So, if your subject line is press release for NBAA, he's going to go, ugh, I got way too many of those already. But if it's one of these, it stands a better chance as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the subject line does make a
Right.
big difference.
Yeah. I usually spend just as much time writing the subject line. And of course, I'm a marketer, I'm not a professional writer. I will spend as much time on the subject line as I do on the email, just because I want to get it opened, especially if it's a cold email or an email to a busy reporter or something like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much the process. You want to have a list of 10 reporters that you are building relationships with. That means you're engaging with them on LinkedIn, you're reading their stuff, you're commenting on their stuff, they know who you are, etc. And then, from that point, you are targeting specifically things that they would be the most interested in. All right, so let's talk about some ideas for newsworthy press releases. Sometimes we do recommend, at least for some of our higher level clients, that they, and some of the larger companies, that they publish a press release once a quarter or at least twice a year. And sometimes that's hard to do if it's a boring period in their life, or whatever. Sometimes we're at a loss to think of, what would be a great topic for a press release. And, so I like to think about these 4 areas. There's usually something we can say about one of these 4 areas, something about the company, something about the team, something about a new product or service, or something about the product or service. And actually, both of those are about the product or service. I meant to say about your customers. You got me. This is why we hired Angel. So that we can have her review my presentations before I do them. So far, I've been kind of flying solo on these, but about your customers. So, those are things that are really cool because it gives you publicity and also gives your client or your customer publicity as well. I like to start with this one and go through these 4 things. What is something we could write about for this company that would make sense?
So
Oh,
we just kind of
oh,
went. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just step on somebody?
no, not at all. Go ahead.
Okay. We just recently did this ourselves with something new. So we just started a podcast series. So
Yeah.
we highlighted one of our customers. So we were able to highlight our customer, Tavera Jets. We highlighted the fact that we're doing a podcast, and AIN did feature that in their last email blast.
Nice.
So we kind of did do a couple of these things. And then on a regular basis, we do like your third one down where we talk about our customers' achievements. So like where you have FAA certifications, like we mentioned, if we have a new member or if one of our existing member is certified. So Wingman would be our own proprietary certification.
Yeah. So there's a lot you could write about that product.
Yep.
Yeah, that is not many companies have their own FAA certification, uh, or anything along those lines. So that's really cool. Yeah, some of our clients do like a third party test, like Tough Guard. They have a paint protection product, and they have testing done by universities and other things, and then they publish the results as a press release. So those are really fun. Um, we could do press releases about our webinars, or our these workshops even. That's something we're looking into in the future as we make them a little bit more formal and a little bit bigger. Speaking engagements, other things, things about team members. If you are scheduled to speak at NBAA, you could write a press release about that. It's not all that newsworthy, but it is certainly, in your market, maybe in your town and in your community and in your company newsletter and things like that. None of these things have to be about curing cancer. I think it's nice when you have big news, but if you are sending press releases quarterly to your top 10 reporters, then they start to count on you and they start to look at you as a source, for some of the things, and they start to include you in their workflow. So they are people just like us. And so, we want to kind of put ourselves in their shoes and say, if I were a reporter, what would make my life easier? Having a regular source of news, having something to say about this particular topic on a regular basis, making sure that we've got enough content for this issue about this topic, or I have somebody that I can always count on for some kind of news item about this topic. So I think that can be really, really helpful to get into the routine of doing at least semi-annually or quarterly press releases. Stella, do you do this for any of your other clients?
Highlighting about customers. So when something,
Mhm.
Someone like Patty was saying, somebody completes a certification or, I've got one who it's a property management company. So they'll list all of their new properties.
Oh, nice.
And that goes out in a press release as well as their newsletter saying, if you're looking for places to stay, here's our list of our new properties that have just come on the market, stuff like that.
Right. And some of our brokers will say, they do like a quarterly report on the market and say, the market is up or the market is down, or the market for this particular aircraft is huge right now. The aircraft for this particular aircraft is stinky right now. Those reports and things are really good news items because, of course, the financial industry is really into knowing what's going on in every industry.
Well, and Paula, not necessarily for a press release, but if you have something you want to get out there and you're not sure what angle to take, you can always throw it in a circle and say, give me some feedback. What would help me? Or how should I present this? Or maybe who should I present this to if you're looking for connections. So, use your circle community to help you narrow this or to refine this as well. It's another option, another avenue for, getting ideas or getting it out there.
Absolutely. And, that of course is private, and we're really, I think, pretty good at supporting each other in that venue, and also your office hours and things like that. This is something that we probably know a reporter that has something to do with some topic, that you're up against. And so we can probably help you make those, start those relationships and things like that. We can't guarantee that anybody in particular is going to publish anything in particular because they do their own thing, but those relationships we can suggest as well. Yeah, so I would say, add this to your routine, at least once a quarter, or, whenever you have a board meeting or something like that. What do we have that would be a good news release? And, keeping those reporters fed, and keeping their kids in college and those kinds of things is really important to us. So, that's a good thing. All right. Building a powerful press kit. This is the part of the workshop that probably gets the most, gets our hands dirty and things like that. So some of the things, and is a press kit a physical thing or is it a digital thing? They started out as physical things, and we still to this day create press kits and take them to NBAA and put them in the press room in everybody's little cubbies. And we put cookies in them because we want to bait them. And reporters are always hungry. So, that's a way of making it physical and of, getting to know some of those reporters that we want to have a good relationship with. At least once a year, they get cookies from us. They also get a lot of these other things on paper in a nice presentation binder or presentation folder. So company description, origin story, profile, bios of key people, backgrounds on key issues and concepts. Some folks are not going to be familiar with your particular area of the industry. So having some kind of a backgrounder on why your topic is important or why your aircraft is better than anything that's currently out there, or why Wyvern is different from anybody else that's on the market, providing those types of services. You can also do customer success stories, testimonials, case studies, charts, graphs, photos, anything visual. Having worked for a magazine long ago in a galaxy far, far away, that's usually one of the hardest things to do is we need to make this page. And the magazine that I worked with was a very visual magazine. So the first thing they're looking for is how can I make this page make people stop reading, stop flipping pages and look at this page. And usually that has something to do with a chart, a graph, a photo, something. So, if you can make your story visual in some way, that really helps reporters if they have something to accompany that article or that other thing. So high resolution printable formats, it doesn't help them if it's 72 DPI and they're downloading it in a compressed format from a website if they're going to try and use it in a print publication. So all of those things are really important. We used to include CDs with our press kits so that they would have the digital format. Now we just use a QR code so they can get to our media kit. Cool. So, all of those things are still important and all of those things are the same, whether it's digital or online. An online press kit might be visible from your website or it might not be. It might be a hidden area that you can access only with a password or only with a secret QR code or a secret URL. That's the way a lot of people do it so that it's not there for the general public, but it's there for the media. So, if you send a press release or a pitch for a story or something like that, you include that QR code or that link so that they can get any additional information that they want. So the most important thing is that it is organized well and it's easy to get around in. It doesn't have to be fantastically designed, because these are professional people. They're just in a hurry to get what they need. So, just a simple page with a list of resources is perfectly fine, but you just want to make sure that all of those links work and all of those links come down with something that is absolutely vetted, because once the press gets hold of it, you have no idea what they're going to do with it, but at least it has to be accurate and updated coming out of your angle. So, this is something that we can do for clients, with their project hours you can just assign us to brainstorm a press kit for you. And we'll look through your existing materials and say, these are things that we think we should include. And these are some things that we think are missing. And, start building those materials. Any thoughts on other things that should be included or any thoughts on other things that have been effective in the past for press releases? One thing we didn't include is audio or video. And I think if you're pitching to a podcaster or pitching to a YouTube channel, which is more and more common these days. And, of course, when we started doing this workshop, it was years ago when the gold standard was print. Even 5 years ago in the aviation industry, it was still worth a lot more to people to get something printed in an aviation magazine than to get it mentioned on their website. But now it's almost more valuable to have it on a very high value digital platform and have it help you get more traffic to your website, be a high quality backlink and all of those things, or get mentioned in a video on a high volume channel, YouTube channel. It's almost as good as TV advertising, right?
Infographics, they're popular.
Infographics, yes, absolutely. Yep, that's a good one. That's a really good way, and I think a very overlooked way to get SEO is to have a shareable infographic that links back to your publication or your website saying, here are some statistics about regional air mobility that you may not have known about. And then if you get that printed in an environmental magazine or somewhere else, that's just another backlink to DBT Aero, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I also think one of the things that you should include in your press kit is if you have somebody who's a rock star in your company, on video, like Michael, the videos that we're building for Michael, those should absolutely, an example of that should go in the press kit so that people will see, wow, we could get a really good speaker for our event about regional air mobility. This guy really knows his stuff. He speaks well, and he presents really well and those kinds of things. Or at least audio, especially for podcasts, you want to have your rock star kind of profile so that people will want to interview him on their podcast. And those the people that schedule those interviews and things for podcasts and YouTube and other kinds of news organizations, they do want to make sure that it's not going to fall flat. They want to have an engaging interview. They want to have a good speaker and things like that. So having those clips really helps them figure out, is this the right person for our audience? And if so, that makes them a lot more comfortable booking an interview. So we will add to that, absolutely, audio and video of past interviews. All right, we've got a few extra minutes. So if anybody wants to dig into a project or a case study or a story or anything else, we can do a field trip. I will say one of the really good ways to look for aviation journalists is just with these. And I know some of you guys have already done this with us before, where you say people and then you say all filters. And then you look specifically for the items that are the most important to you. So locations, whatever you want, current company, if you're looking for somebody from a specific news organization, you can add that. Followers of a particular creator or thought leader in your industry. So, I might say one of our competitors, Sonia Greekman, followers of Sonia Greekman, people who are interested in one marketing company might be interested in another aviation marketing company. Where did they go to school? What is their industry? What is their language? I always say English, and so on. And then you can add what are the other things that they are the most interested in? Regional air mobility, safety, aircraft markets, for brokers, the Bonanza, the PT6A engine, whatever it is that is the most important to you. You want to find reporters that have written about that topic. You can get as specific as you want, and then you can show results. And then you can narrow it down to people that you already know or people that you don't know. And, again, this is just like regular marketing or prospecting. You want to connect with as many people as you can. I like to make it a point to connect with people every week, aviation journalists and things every week. So, and I just hit connect, add a note. Aviation news is a small world. I thought we should connect. And then their news will start to show up in your feed. You have the opportunity to see and like and comment and all those things, and it just becomes a part of my Follow Friday routine, is to spend a couple of hours on LinkedIn, cultivating my network, looking for those reporters that are the most important to me, making sure that I'm reconnecting and, building those relationships in an honest way. I'm actually reading their articles and, commenting on things that I actually care about. So, you could be as specific as you want, aviation marketing or aviation um, news about regional air mobility is a very small world. It's an even smaller world, so I thought we should connect. Those are things that, people are usually really happy to reach out because they're trying to build their network as well. So all of those things I think are great. Anybody have a specific circumstance they want to discuss or situation we want to dive into? If not, we'll give you 10 minutes back and let you go to the bathroom before your next meeting or get a drink or whatever it is that you want to do. And I hope this was valuable to you. If we want to just go around the room, was there anything you learned today that you didn't know before, or anything that you'd like to learn in a future workshop or anything like that?
Well, I'll go first.
Oh,
I
thank you.
thought it was really neat how you use the ChatGPT to help you connect with a journalist the way you did, like how you downloaded their profile from LinkedIn and how you asked it to help you create a pitch to a journalist. That was
Right.
that was
Thank
really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't personalize their pitches because it takes too much time. So, if this takes some of the time out, then, what you get from that is better than a generic thing that you send to 10 reporters, but it doesn't take that much more time to do that. And then, of course, you can take it in more detail and fact check it, make sure it's perfect and add more specifics and things. So thank you, Patty. I appreciate that. Ben, anything you learned that was new?
Well, yeah. I took like 4 pages of notes, so what do I
Did
know?
you?
Uh,
Good for you.
but
You
I
only
mean,
had
the
like a
couple of
six-page
things that
workbook.
jumped out. What's that? Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I said you only had a 6-page workbook. So.
Yeah, I wrote on that too. The 4 topics, which is nice and clear, company, team, product, customer. And
Yeah,
then the brief conversation about using, I use ChatGPT and a bunch of the others, but I hadn't I do use Perplexity, but not that way. So I think I'm going to give it a try and see how perplex. At the moment I do beta testing for Apple, so I work with their engineers. So I've got the earlier, I've got the very latest the
yeah.
betas for their Apple Intelligence.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, so I get it to write things for me, and then I run it through Grammarly, and
Okay.
I see how the two AIs fight with each other. It's very interesting what comes back. But
Dueling robots. I
yeah,
love it.
so this idea of using ChatGPT and Perplexity, I hadn't really thought of that. So I might try the same trick with them, and
Mhm.
then really the add it to their routine. When I was working with reporters, the idea was to make getting it right as easy as possible.
Yeah,
But
true.
um, the idea that you want to get in their routine, they just expect something from you. They expect updates. They that hadn't usually, like at Ernst and Young, there was a person that did that.
Yeah.
They ran all over the company writing media stuff, and I would
Mhm.
try and get them. They would come to me at intervals, but I
Mhm.
hadn't really connected. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're feeding a group, and the same thing with when I worked for the mayor in Denver.
Mhm.
His media people are constantly feeding the media,
Mhm.
because we got a whole bunch of coverage and one station didn't cover it, and they were mad.
Mhm.
Even though they were invited, they said, well, it wasn't clear how important that was.
Yeah.
And so the media person took a hit over that, and we
Yeah.
ended up doing something for them later. But
Right.
yeah, it doesn't occur to me. You put it in their routine, make their life easier. They're going to you get a lot of coverage.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have time to come to you nowadays. You have to go to them, and they'll take what's easy because they don't have, they're doing 3 times the work for the same amount of time. Um, Stella, anything that you learned that you didn't know before or anything you want to
Well,
emphasize?
and just a side note on what Ben was saying, if you've
Yeah.
already got that list of people you go to,
Yeah.
your go-to list, and you have something happen, it's a whole lot easier to find that go-to list than to go, oh, I need to get this out there. And then you're searching for who can I get it out there to and how and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So having your list in advance, even if that list, changes every few months or whatever, um,
Mhm.
makes your life much easier because if something happens, I need to get out there immediately, you know who to go to. If something happens that, you want to publish, but you don't have a list, you have no idea who to go to or where to find them, how to find them. And already having this stuff in your back pocket just makes your job easier in the long run.
Absolutely, right. Like, I'll use the example of Doug Goldstrom and SSC. They were in, it was Hurricane Helene actually that hit their area. Asheville, North Carolina is a little ways from them. They were involved in some of the efforts to deal with that before FEMA got involved. We did a press release. We already have great relationships with reporters because Doug is out there and is known to them, and he's cultivated those relationships for many years. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories and other crazy things going on about these helicopters that were on the end of a runway waiting to be fueled. And everybody's just like, well, people are starving. Why are these helicopters sitting around? Well, they don't fly without fuel, and they're waiting for the generator to get there so that they can hook up the gas pumps, and it's not a conspiracy. It is not anything bad that's happening. It is this. And so, if you can get that information to reporters right away when something is happening on the ground, we're people in the industry. We're not going to make our general aviation partners look bad. We need to let people know what's going on so they don't make something up.
Mhm.
That's really, really important. And I think especially in the aviation industry, we're often seen as the villain in any story just because of who we are. And we need to get better at telling our stories and cultivating those relationships with reporters, even outside of aviation, but in our local area as well.
Well, and if you're a trusted source, they know they're getting accurate information versus, oh, well, Trump said, well, that doesn't mean it's true.
No, but yeah,
you become a trusted source to, for whatever that information is. So if they've got a question, they can say, oh, Doug knows everything about, aviation in this area. Let's go ask him what's going on, or, what his thoughts are. So it becomes a two-way street.
Absolutely. Right. Angel, did you have anything to add, or anything that you learned today that you didn't know before?
Yeah, I just learned perplexity, and I think I haven't used that before, so maybe I'll search about it and apply it.
Excellent. Great. Well, that sounds great. I really appreciate the fact that everybody took some time today, and I am really happy when we have people that are actively involved in these workshops, because I think it makes it so much more interesting than just spilling information, if we're actually able to apply it and use it in ways that we can take it home and do things. So hopefully you guys will all realize all of these outcomes, having maybe made some action items for yourself about creating your top 10 list of reporters and cultivating those relationships, building a media kit, doing pitches that are customized, etc. So thank you so much for coming, and we will see you next month.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Luego.
Hasta
Thanks,
luego.
Paul.
All right, bye-bye.